rehabilitation, I should say, the hanging down project at Roxborough again. All of these projects, we were able to accrue cost savings. We will save the Tobago House of Assembly and the people of Tobago so far upwards of probably $40 million
Wow.
across all of these projects. So we really are trying to get to a place where people recognize that we can and we can do better. And it's critical for people to know that they are empowered. So sometimes when I hear people say, well, potholes, Mr. Devine, crazy potholes, I say, well, the reality is one of the things that we did, we have at least 12 people empowered to address a pothole before it comes to my attention.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know that I want to be the secretary of potholes, but the reality is, I mean, it is a bothersome issue, and that's why we empowered so many people to address it. So it really comes down to the average man, the Tobagonians, getting the job done. And of course, there are always challenges. Right now, we have challenges with bitumen. For people who don't know, bitumen is one of the base products that is used to make asphalt. Again, people don't know that although we have lake asphalt and the product from there is called TLA, we actually, in the past, did not use TLA to do asphalt. We use bitumen from the Petrochin refinery. Now that the refinery is closed down, one of the unintended consequences is we have to rely on Trinidad Lake asphalt. They have been having their challenges, especially because of the COVID pandemic. So that has really slowed down what we're able to do. But I remember when I got into the division in 2017, meeting with the staff, they said the two problems are the permanent list hasn't been signed in more than 10 years, so we're understaffed, and the quarry isn't working. 2018, we signed the permanent list for the first time in 10 years.
Wow.
The quarry, of course, we know the story of the quarry. And I guess we could get into that more. It's brand new, Study Park Enterprise Limited, ramped up production, but we still have challenges. So we have to continuously work to meet the needs of, the development needs of the people of Tobago.
Excellent. Chrissy, I want to touch on something that you mentioned. You indicated that potholes has been,
Yes.
quite an issue on the island, and that's quite true. But it's very interesting that you
Yes.
mentioned there are 12 persons empowered, and soon there will be 15 persons empowered
See?
to address the issue of potholes. So just for the average viewer, can you explain to them, because how do they access and then, kind of walk them through the process of going to their area representatives and then the request being made to you at the division? How does that work?
Well, actually, just to be clear, it's not even political persons empowered.
Okay.
We're talking about within the division. So
Okay.
there's a structure within the division where you have an area foreman. We have what we call ROs, road officers. You have CROs, circulatory road officers. They have their supervisors. You have your district supervisors. So it goes all the way up to the engineers, the senior technical coordinator, and the administrator. So again, it's a stack of people who are empowered to say, listen, we can get the job done. We can get this pothole fixed. So it is a real challenge. One of the main, like 90% of our potholes, if not 95%, come from WASA doing repair work. And it's, it is what it is. When I got into the division, 2016, there was an MOA already, a memorandum of agreement with WASA for the division to complete repairs. This was signed sometime in November of 2016. And at the time when they signed it, there was a backlog of over 4,000 potholes in Tobago.
Wow.
And so that backlog, with, of course, the age infrastructure, more potholes, more repairs. One of the challenges we've been having at WASA, and we're trying to work with the new management, is that they put the saturated mud, basically, back into the hole. Now, when they do that, the agreement is that there's supposed to be a temporary fill. They use different gradations of aggregate, from fine to larger, so that they create a temporary fill, which we can then make sure it's compact, put on the asphalt top, and get that done. But when they put mud back into the hole, we now have to engage a backhoe because
Right.
people don't know that a lot of the equipment that the division utilizes now is not owned by the division.
Right.
We actually rent a lot of the equipment that we use. And again, it's another way to empower the private sector. So we have been doing that for many years in Tobago. So when they put the mud back in the hole, we now have to come with a backhoe, dig it out, put in the fill, and sometimes, of course, we don't have plumbers on that job. It's guys repairing the road. They may have affected the pipeline again. So by the time we repair it, leak all over again. And so it's a maddening cycle.
Right.
But we are working with the new management to see how we can ramp up. So I'm asking for more patience from the people of Tobago as we deliver, again, quality works.
Quality works for you. So, Kwesi, you would have walked into two mild seat questions. I wouldn't call them hot as yet, but you would have walked into two additional questions. And the first one is that you would have mentioned the layers of officers at the division
Yes.
who would be able to assist in addressing some of the pothole issues.
Yes.
So the first question I have for you is, one, is there any wiggle room for these officers, and you can tell me if they actually do this right now, sort of go out and scout and see what's actually happening on the ground, if there's some sort of schedule or cycle where you kind of monitor the roads to determine what needs to be fixed in a timely manner. And I'm going to hit you with your second question right away in terms of collaborating with WASA, because you're quite right, and it's a running joke in Tobago now where as soon as you get a road fixed, here comes WASA to dig it right back up. So what can be done in terms of the division and WASA working together to sort of, be on a schedule and mitigate some of the kind of craziness that we see going on? I believe we need to go to a break, but when we return, I would love for you to address those two questions.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Tobago. Hi, I am Marlon Calendar, and I'm here in beautiful Pigeon Point. I'm not here for the scenery, because Tobago has real talent.
So Tobago, we're looking for your talent. You could cook, you could sing, you could dance, you could be a tailor, you could be a jeweler. Whatever is your talent, bring your talent.
And we'll see what Tobago has to offer. Come and meet me in Tobago.
It's the grand finale of the Tobago Local Talent Blast Original Song Contest.
In the final, Quincy Wallace, Ayuma John George, Shamika Dinoon, Delaney Bain, Raphael Thomas, Precious Regis, Musical Souls, Rosemary Smart, Darrell Douglas, and Delisa Wilson George. Finalists will perform with a live band streaming from Wilson's Music Center in Marys Hill, Tobago.
Join us on Sunday, November 21st, 2021 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Live on WAC 90.1 FM Visual Radio.
And on M&ETV, Channel 20 Digital and Channel 154 Trico Tobago. Also on GLS 103.5 online radio. Like and subscribe our Tobago Local Talent Blast Facebook and YouTube pages.
Donate to our FCB account in Tobago 2850134 and help us support our local artists.
It's a blast!
And welcome back to the hot seat with Mel. With me this morning is Mr. Kwesi Devines, aka Quality Works for You. Before the break, I would have asked Kwesi two hot seat questions. One would have been about partnering with WASA to sort of mitigate the pothole issue we have plaguing Tobago. Yes. And the other would have been having your officers just go out and scout the different roads so that the division is fully aware of the areas that need repair.
So I'll take them, I think they're both excellent questions. So in the first instance, when we say ROs, road officers, and CROs, they may have offices, but it's a traveling position.
Okay.
A circulatory road officer actually is the supervisor over the ROs, and they are actually supposed to be in different zones.
Right.
So what we have is the East and West districts, and they are separated into the different regions. So we have Mariah District, Speyside, Roxborough, and Scarborough. Unfortunately, Scarborough takes up most of Tobago West. So we do have officers who are supposed to travel the length and breadth of Tobago in different zones. In the old days, I remember we even brought back an old school supervisor, as we call him, and with a lot of knowledge. And he said they used to even write down in a notebook. There was a notebook in the office. So when they came across a pothole, they would write it down. Of course, when they fix it, they would cross it out. So we were looking at one time at going back to that system because it's not a very accountable system.
Yeah.
But what we have begun doing and we've been working on is a GIS system,
Okay.
a Geomatic Information System. So the division is rolling that out. Again, it's going to cost us, but the investment is worth it,
yes.
in the long term. So we've done road condition surveys. We've done infrastructure condition surveys across the length and breadth of Tobago. We also are commissioning a drainage study for across Tobago because a lot of the drains, for example, as well, because water is part of the reason that the roads break up, whether from Wassa or otherwise. So a lot of the drainage has to be redone. We've commissioned a survey through UDICOT, a comprehensive drainage study
Right.
in Tobago, to take up a lot of the challenges with drainage because underdevelopment is a sin. Overdevelopment we cannot undo, but
Right.
unplanned development, and we've had an explosion of unplanned development in Tobago, is really where the trouble is. So we have now a lot of places that have developed and the drainage capacity has been overwhelmed. So now people are talking about flooding in places that they never had flooding before. As well, some of the drains that were there done in the county council days, so we're talking the 60s and 70s here.
Right.
The concrete is just expired because concrete does have a timeline. So you see a lot of those invert drains or drains that were built without steel are now collapsing all over Tobago. So we have people who are supposed to be monitoring all of these things, both the drainage and the roads, and reporting it. So what we are going to start doing now is inputting this. We've been training our staff into that GIS system.
Excellent.
So we could keep track of all of these things. We're also going to be launching a help desk from the division so people could call in and make reports as well. So that, again, we could plug those into the system so that it becomes a more automated response. And we're hoping, again, that once we have the materials and we have the labor dedicated and doing their work, because the reality is we could skirt all around it as much as we want.
Right.
No politician goes out there and patches a pothole. I mean, I would like to learn, honestly. And we've done a lot of training on it.
Right.
No politician goes out there and constructs drains, which, again, I would love to learn because I think it's a worthwhile skill.
I agree.
But it's our people, our Tobago people who are doing these jobs. So it's a matter of holding each other accountable. And I always tell them, I say, you know, when you cut the bush on the side of the road and you leave it there in a corner, it clog a drain or somebody has to swing wide around a corner and gets into an accident. It's not until it affects you personally that you will see that you need to do things differently.
Right.
So I think it's a matter of us holding each other accountable. As I said, there are many layers. 6,000 members of staff. So sometimes when people call me and say, well, Mr. Levines, you know that so-and-so in this project, and at any one time, between URP, development, maintenance of roads, maintenance of buildings, the division could have no less than 20 to 40 projects going on. And we're talking outside of sometimes even mega projects. And that's just the construction type projects. We're not talking into what's happening in the environment and the quarry. So sometimes when people call me and so, you know what happened on this project, what? And I smile because I'm like, yes, I mean, I'll look into it. But I don't necessarily have a day-to-day update on what exactly is happening. I do go out personally, get into the drains, see the kind of the quality of work. Sometimes people are surprised to see me walking in a drain in the back of their house, but that's what the job requires,
right.
and that's what we do. And sometimes when people see the secretary, they feel a lot more motivated that, you know, somebody cares about them. So it's really about injecting that level of motivation, that level of care, continuous training, because we see that fall off sometimes with the quality of work, and that's how we say quality works, to get it into the minds of people, so that when we go out there, they understand, you know what, you have to deliver quality for the people of Tobago. As it comes to Wassa, we have I would say a love-hate relationship. Because again, I remember when we did Daniel Chase, for example, we had to dig all the way down, do over the sub-base, come up to the base, and then the asphalt. And Wassa took the opportunity to run new lines in Daniel Chase, and we thought that was such a fantastic arrangement. Until they had to come in because they realized that they didn't connect some people and they had to cut. Same thing was done when we were rehabilitating the Claude Newell Highway, that 2-kilometer stretch. And I mean, people were talking about, well, they don't know what they're doing, while the pavement, why it's so low. And we got all kind of curse, and we had to explain to people, listen, There is the sub-base, there's there's what we call the base course, and then there's a wearing course. And I think people saw the quality after. But we communicated with WASA, hey, we're going to do this work. Do you have any pipes, lines, or whatever that would need addressing? And they're like, of course, nothing. But then there was a major situation by the walkover in Dallas Spring, and they had to cut up the base course.
Yeah.
So that relationship happens when we did Plymouth as well. There's a bit of a standoff, to be honest, between the division and WASA at one point, but we got it resolved through diplomacy.
Right.
That they ran new mains because we were having a situation of patching constantly because there were leaks constantly. So once you see leaks constantly, it means the infrastructure needs to be replaced completely.
Yes.
I feel it for WASA because just like any other state agency, they have their funding challenges as well. But we are working again now with the new management because we're looking to find ways to realize cost savings through the MOA that can be transferred to the customers by laying new pipes. So that's what I discussed that with Mr. Williams, and we're moving in that direction. So like the people in Arnorsville who are complaining, the reality is there's a need for new infrastructure there. In Speyside on the Winmore Road again, there's a need for new infrastructure there. So we're trying to work with WASA to ensure that new infrastructure is laid. Of course, the challenge for them is that there are new projects as well.
Right.
So it's new projects competing with these replacing old infrastructure. So we're trying to find that middle ground where we understand each other. I mean, the people in Highlands Road, where I'm from in Mariah, are livid. They just got a new road and it's full of potholes already.
Oh boy.
But we have to work around and get these things going. Ideally, there would have been what we call utility corridors in our roads, but we didn't get to that place. We haven't gotten to that place, unfortunately. But these are things that we have to look at when we're putting new developments. So when we did other new developments, when we Corland and so on, they have these utility corridors, so you don't have to dig up the roadway in order to access the pipe. So those are the ways that we're trying to get things done.
So we definitely seen some promising new things happening. I am sure that all of Tobago would be on the lookout to see the collaborations with WASA. We really hope that that's something that would bear fruit.
I hope so too. For the people of Tobago's sake.
Yes,
for my sake too.
And for all of us' sake and for the sake of our vehicles as well.
Correct.
So we're going to cut to a short break, and then once we return, you had mentioned the Stolly Park Quarry.
Yes.
I'm sure we'd like to hear a bit more about that.
Tobago. Hi, I am Marlon Calendar, and I'm here in beautiful Pigeon Point. I'm not here for the scenery because Tobago has real talent.
So Tobago, we're looking for your talent. You could cook, you could sing, you could dance, you could be a tailor, you could be a jeweler. Whatever is your talent, bring your talent.
And we'll see what Tobago has to offer. Come and meet me in Tobago.
It's the grand finale of the Tobago Local Talent Blast Original Song Contest.
In the final, Quincy Wallace, Ioma's John George, Shamika Dinoon, Delaney Bain, Raphael Thomas, Precious Regis, Musical Souls, Rosemary Smart, Darrell Douglas, and Delisa Wilson George. Finalists will perform with a live band streaming from Wilson's Music Center in Marys Hill, Tobago.
Join us on Sunday, November 21st, 2021 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Live on WAC 90.1 FM Visual Radio.
And on M&ETV, Channel 20 Digital and Channel 154 Trico Tobago. Also on GLS 103.5 online radio. Like and subscribe our Tobago Local Talent Blast Facebook and YouTube pages.
Donate to our FCB account in Tobago 2850134 and help us support our local artists.
It's a blast!
Hi, I'm Patricia Nicholson Richards. Welcome to the headlines on the Tobago News Network. While addressing the online audience during the Tobago House of Assembly's post-executive council media briefing, Chief Secretary Ansel Dennis warned Tobagonians to exercise caution as the state of emergency is lifted.
The national state of emergency came to an end effective Wednesday, 17th November 2021. In light of this, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Ansel Dennis, is cautioning Tobagonians to be responsible.
Because as I speak, the situation is getting worse. There is an increase in the number of infections and deaths in the country at this time, and therefore it requires all of us on this island and across the country to be responsible, to demonstrate care and concern for each other, to follow the protocols.
With the number of COVID-19 cases rising once again, Mr. Dennis explained why he's no longer going to beg Tobagonians to get vaccinated.
I think we have sufficient information available to us. The research is there. The pleadings of the professionals, our scientists in the medical field, from the chief medical officer to the various doctors and experts attending those press conferences and sharing all the information and explaining to the people of the country what is likely to happen if we do not do the responsible thing.
Chief Secretary Dennis had gotten his 2 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine a few months ago and received his 3rd booster shot on Tuesday, 16th November 2021.
Thank you for joining us for the headlines on the Tobago News Network. I'm Patricia Nicholson-Richards. Do have a good evening.
Welcome back to the Hot Seat with Mel, where we seek to inform and educate. With me this morning again is Mr. Quality Works for You. Before the break, Kwesi and I were having quite a candid chat, I would say, about the impact of new developments, decaying infrastructure, and of course unplanned developments on some of the issues that we see happening with our infrastructure, in particular roads and drains in Tobago. I know that I mentioned that we would start on Studley Park, but I also want to sort of throw our viewers into the hot seat themselves. You never know what you're going to get on the show. So let's talk a little bit about the impact that the unplanned development and even unapproved development has on, we have to take some sort of responsibility, even as individuals, as private contractors, as private developers, as families here in Tobago. So let's chat a little bit about the impact that this unplanned and unapproved development, what it does to our roadways and to our public infrastructure.
Yes, thanks for that, Mel. The reality is that in Tobago, and of course, people look to build houses where, and as they always say, where we have land, and it's family land very often.
Yes.
They don't always go through town and country planning, or they don't always go through the bank. They do what they can afford, and Tobagonians are hard-working people, and we are proud people as well.
Yes.
But the challenge that we have very often is with that unplanned development or unapproved development on one side, is that when you put up a home on a hillside, somebody just goes and cuts a bank.
Right.
An example in Riseland, Patience Hill, the division just had to spend almost $8 million, or upward of $8 million to secure the roadway because someone was doing a development, an excavator cleared away too much land and it undermined the roadway. And now the state took up the cost, of course. When people don't have guttering actually is one of the fundamental challenges we have when you see landscapes, because a lot of people build above the roadway because of how the roads are built. If you don't have guttering on your home, water actually is the most powerful force in nature, and it will get you either over time or immediately. So when you see landslides, it's water. When you see landslips under someone's house, it's very often it's because the water from the home has not been controlled. So my recommendation to homeowners, please ensure you have guttering. The other thing I want to touch on very quickly is unscrupulous land developers. People who go out there and sell developed land to Tobagonians
Right.
under the guise of, yes, we have approval. Very often it's conditional approval. You're supposed to develop the utilities, the roadway, the drains, because the way a road is handed over to the state actually is that the road is supposed to be brought up to standard.
Right.
All the land taxes are supposed to be paid. You write and apply for the state to adopt this road under the Highways Act. And then from there, an inspection is supposed to be done. The road is up to standard, the drains are up to standard, and the state now adopts maintenance of this road, whether it's vegetation control, patching, or whatever the case might be. But we have a lot of developers in many places in Tobago selling people land. They haven't developed the drains, no roads, and then they tell people, well, we got approval and the division say they will come and do the road. Or the division say they will build the drain. Or we're waiting for the works to come and do it. And that is very unscrupulous, disingenuous, and there are many examples of it now. And at the end, everyone feels, well, I'm a taxpayer. Why am I suffering like this?
Right.
And I remember one person tried to show me earthen drains in a particular development in the Mount Pleasant area. And I had to say, well, you know, that cannot work in this low-lying area. And lo and behold, now we are inundated with requests from in that area for drains to put a surface on the road, because that was never done. Houses are built, and sometimes when you put up apartment buildings and so on, and into a little slipper drain, it's you're overwhelming the infrastructure, you're causing flooding, and some people make sure it doesn't flood by them, but then their neighbor is affected, or someone down the road is affected. And we're dealing with these situations across Tobago, and it's costing taxpayers ultimately a great deal for us to build these massive walls, to build hundreds of feet of box drains or slipper drains. So it's a major challenge that we're facing.
So Tobago, you're also in the hot seat. We all have a responsibility to ensure that we abide with the codes, that we get the necessary approvals. And of course, if you're a home buyer, if you're a developer, go through town and country planning. We have to do things the right way, because then it benefits or affects us all here in Tobago. Can we start talking about the Stolly Park Quarry? I know that a couple of years ago, the Stolly Park Quarry became the source of some controversy after it was indicated that there were plans to privatize the quarry. Since then, it has become a sort of pride and joy of us here in Tobago. So talk to us a little bit about what's been happening there.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny you started with the privatization, because yet again we are faced with that, I guess, political season, that we are selling the quarry. But I want to assure Tobagonians that the Stolly Park Enterprise Limited, which is now called, is a 100% Tobago House of Assembly owned company, state-owned company. The only shareholder is the Tobago House of Assembly, and by extension the people of Tobago. So there's no one else who's operating in the quarry but Stolly Park Enterprise Limited. In 2017, we were in a situation where people were lining up. I have some friends who are truckers, and they would tell me that 6 o'clock in the evening before, they would line up their trucks, sleep in their trucks to try to get material. Sometimes they only get one load of material, and then I know my friend said to me, Kwesi, honestly, if I have to go through all of that, you can't tell me what price to charge for this aggregate. So it means then that was passed on to the average Tobagonian who's building their home. So we now have a situation where we are able to meet the demand. We've actually ramped up in November of 2017 when we transformed the Stolly Park Enterprise Limited, and it took a period of transition negotiation with the union. Former Chief Secretary Kelvin Charles was also very instrumental. We ensured that no one was fired, no one was sent home. People were reabsorbed into the Division of Infrastructure, and of course new workers or some workers stayed on in the new enterprise. We moved from a situation of 250 employees to I think we now have 60 employees at the quarry. So it's a lean, mean operating machine. And
I like that.
And now we can keep the price of aggregate to a more reasonable level. The reality as well, we were even producing aggregate at a lower cost than it was costing us to produce it.
Wow, so cost savings.
So those things, so we're now able to realize some profit. And that was increased because we have rehabilitated the Stolly Park, the Barbados Bay Jetty. So from November 2017 to November 2018, we were able to ramp up production over 400%. By that time. So that's why I said a lean, mean operating machine, because we were able to ramp up production. We were able to have boulders. So if you go even out to Trinidad, Mosquito Creek, that project, a lot of projects on the north coast of Trinidad, where we're doing a lot of coastal protection because climate change is affecting us seriously here in Trinidad and Tobago. The andesite rock, or armored rock, is one of the best to do coastal work. And it's been in Cap de Ville, Sans Souci, all around Trinidad. We're seeing where we're able to now export from Tobago to Trinidad. We are supplying Trinidad with aggregate. Wow. And beyond that, we've been able to export aggregate to Guyana and St. Vincent.
Wow.
Right now we are in talks with several persons out of Guyana, because of course Guyana is going through a construction boom. And they do want high quality material. And the andesite material at the Study Park Quarry is the second hardest material in the world. Wow. We have a close to 100-year supply of it there in Study Park. So we are going to be ramping up our export of aggregate to Guyana. It will mean foreign exchange for the people of Tobago.
Right.
It would mean that we are able to generate revenue and have Tobago finance from the Study Park Quarry. Of course, the COVID pandemic has impacted the quarry like every other part of the construction sector, but we're on the way to getting things done. We have rebuilt and rejuvenated, rehabilitated the two plants. We've increased capacity by over 40%. We've improved the electrical capacity as well, so that both plants can run. So we have a situation now where we can produce even more aggregate to be able to service the needs of Tobago, Trinidad, and the rest of the region. So we're even in talks with someone to start exporting to the USA.
Wow.
So again, this will be a big deal. The Barbados Bay Jetty, I think, is the gateway to an industrial port in Tobago. I know that we're looking at Cove for that industrial port, but we are getting people going. So even bringing cement to Tobago, we no longer have to go to the port in Scarborough. They can land in Barbados Bay and so on. So we're getting a lot of things done in Study Park to benefit the people of Tobago. So people might say, well, that has nothing to do with me. Yes, it has everything to do with you. It's going to be helping you with getting cheaper concrete ultimately. We're able to, once you start making more and more profit, because for now we're reinvesting the profit into the company, but there will come a time when we can draw on this, just like other companies in Trinidad were able to help to finance our development agenda. So very soon we'll be able to start funding development in Tobago from the Study Park Quarry. I think one of the challenges we have to look at for Tobagonians, what downstream industries we can derive from the Study Park Quarry. Don't only leave it up to us. I mean, there's one or two block factories in Tobago.
Yes.
There can be more block factories. There's no reason we should be importing blocks. We should start exporting blocks very soon out of Tobago. So those are the things we have to look at. Do we do cobblestone roads? Do we, do we look at other options that we can have out of the material right here in Tobago? So Studley Park is, again, phenomenal improvement. Smaller staff, no one was sent home, but we're able to do more for the people of Tobago.
Excellent. So the things that jump out at me, improved productivity by 400%.
Yes.
Of course, we're exporting throughout the region.
Yes.
We're generating a revenue that can be used right here in Tobago. I like the idea of Tobago generating its own money and using its money here. And of course, the opportunity for these downstream industries within the private sector to then emerge as we continue to develop. So we're going to take a short break, but when we return, we will touch on the topic of the environment, as well as some of the amazing things that the URP program has been doing.
Absolutely amazing.
Tobago, hi, I am Marlon Calendar, and I'm here in beautiful Pigeon Point. I'm not here for the scenery, because Tobago has real talent.
So Tobago, we're looking for your talent. You could cook, you could sing, you could dance, you could be a tailor, you could be a jeweler. Whatever is your talent, bring your talent.
And we'll see what Tobago has to offer. Come and meet me in Tobago.
It's the grand finale of the Tobago Local Talent Blast Original Song Contest.
In the final, Quincy Wallace, Ioma's John George, Shamika Dinoon, Delaney Bain, Raphael Thomas, Precious Regis, Musical Souls, Rosemary Smart, Darrell Douglas, and Delisa Wilson George. Finalists will perform with a live band streaming from Wilson's Music Center in Marys Hill, Tobago.
Join us on Sunday, November 21st, 2021 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Live on WAC 90.1 FM Visual Radio.
And on M&ETV, Channel 20 Digital and Channel 154 Trico Tobago. Also on GLS 103.5 online radio. Like and subscribe our Tobago Local Talent Blast Facebook and YouTube pages.
Donate to our FCB account in Tobago 2850134 and help us support our local artists.
It's a blast!
Welcome back to the Hot Seat with Mel. We're talking about development, infrastructure here on the island with the very hard-working Kwesi Devines. Kwesi, let's talk about that URP program. I have seen some changes happening, some very positive changes, I must say. I've seen some transformation, some upskilling, some growth, and some retooling in the program. So do you want to share with Tobago how the program has been implemented, some of the mandates of the division? So
again, the quality works for you mantra. In speaking with the persons in URP, there was a feeling that URP was overlooked, they were taken for granted. So one of the first things we did was start rebranding URP useful, relevant, and productive. And again, it's to get into the minds of the psyche of the people, because very often that's where the magic is.
Yes.
And once people recognize that, yes, we are useful, yes, we are relevant, yes, we are productive, we saw an increase again in the construction projects. URP, I think up to 2017, had completed 10 projects in that fiscal year. We were able to ramp that up to 65 projects and then 85 projects in the next fiscal year. So that's just in the construction. In the furniture workshop, we saw some of the greatest works, I think, coming out. They did all of most of the benches for Scarborough RSC.
Wow.
They're doing benches for Signal Hill Secondary now and other schools. The concrete workshop, we're seeing where they just created a new paver that was featured. So we now have a set of people who are growing in confidence, recognizing their skills, and then we focus a lot on developing the capacity of women. And I mean, I'm not saying it because you're a woman, of course.
No, this is excellent.
But I say to them without apology that women are the foundation of our society, and we can't take the women for granted. So there is the URP Women's Program, and we started transitioning these women through training, of course, into the agriculture program. So we were able to plant over 800 pawpaw trees in Roxborough. Wow. We exposed them to agro-processing training. So they did learn to make cocoa spar products. So from the cocoa, they learned to make cocoa oils, cocoa scrubs, cocoa creams, and so on, spar products. The women were also exposed to different techniques in cassava production, in growing, in composting. USAID with the we partnered with what's the name of the university? I can't remember the name of the university right now. We partnered with a university to increase their skills as well. So again, we're building the capacity. We have some of them at the tissue culture lab in Goldsboro, where they learn again about those things. So all of that is to build capacity, because we're looking at developing an agricultural sector. And we also need to develop the agro-processing sector. So it means that we have to equip people with the skills to start off in URP, yes, but then move down and start doing your own thing, being valuable on farms. So what we're in the process of doing now is engaging a business mentor. Because when we did started again engagement, we engaged the staff. A lot of them did the vocational training with from community development, so they knew how to make seasonings, they knew how to make pepper sauces. We're now going to open a new center at McKay Hill, but we're going to be doing local herbs. So how do we now turn those local herbs into teas? So we're engaging an entrepreneurial consultant, so to speak, as a mentor, so that persons who have businesses registered already can now grow their businesses. How do I improve my packaging? How do I improve my marketing? Because it's about empowering these employees. So yes, you could be working in URP or started off in URP, but there's no reason that you can't own a successful enterprise. I met someone who, and she's transitioning out of URP. She said, you know, I opened my own spa. I have a tea shop as well in Canaan, and she's doing really well. And again, because of what she learned from URP. And so all of those skills, those partnerships with Purdue, the URP program is also very instrumental in the environmental sector. They are leading the charge in the recycling surveys in communities like Roxborough and so on. Because again, we are partnered with the environment. So what we have done is, instead of hiring new staff, in our brand new Tobago Resource Recycling Initiative at NIPDEC, we've utilized URP workers who are learning about recycling, plastic, PET, aluminum, and so on, cardboard. And so they have a greater value and appreciation for recycling. They are going out there and doing the surveys. They are going out there and informing people about the benefits of recycling. So we're seeing again where URP is playing a very important and critical role in the development of Tobago. And again, useful, relevant, and productive. One of the things that we did say to them as well is, because we have done a lot of training with URP, we're going to start using URP as an entry point into the main division, because they already have the skill sets. So now they're going to have the opportunity to work in the maintenance of road sections and so on, so that they can transfer all of these skills that they learn now into the main division. So there's hope on the horizon for people in URP. So not only are they being upskilled, not only are they being trained in other soft skills like conflict resolution and so on, not only are they participating very actively in agriculture, but they're now going to have an opportunity to move into the main division to really have that security of tenure that they're looking for.
Excellent. So, you know, this is excellent news, actually, because there's several things that I'm hearing coming out. Of course, the opportunity to develop and to, you know, progress within the public sector, but also very amazing opportunities to progress within the private sector, because I can imagine these sort of partnerships, collaborations, and even sole trader businesses that we could see coming out of these persons who would have been trained in the URP program. And of course, where division can offer a certain level of support and a certain resource and service to the other divisions, I would always count that as a win. You know, I would have seen there's a leatherette table that was developed the other day, an excellent
we did one, at our conference table. So there was one at the Division of Infrastructure, and other divisions got jealous. So they started going out. So again, they provide these services. They can do your conference tables. As a matter of fact, I purchased a bed, chest of drawers from them, because it's proper hardwood, good quality. Even the caskets, high quality caskets. So we're trying to even make that business their own. So we're speaking to some of them in the furniture workshop, and we're saying, listen, this casket business is one that you can go into full time. We want to give you use of the workshop after hours and transition you into a space, get BDO granting, grant funding, venture capital funding, get your own workshop so that you can start doing your own caskets. So again, we're trying to develop these private sector enterprises and initiatives from that will be birthed right there in URP. So it's again useful, relevant, productive.
So for members of the public who might be interested, because even as an entrepreneur, for me, I was quite interested in the conference table, as a matter of fact. So if we wanted to be able to engage is that something that's possible right now?
It is. You can go to URP. Of course, you could check out our Facebook page. Check out the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment on Facebook. You get all the information. They've been doing desks, of course, for homeschooling. During lockdown of the pandemic, they were providing desks. That's the service of doing desks and other items as well. So please go into URP, engage them. They will get quality work for you.
I like that. And, I must say congratulations to the work that you have been doing there, because,
Thank you so much.
the other aspect of this is there's a sense of pride that I've seen coming out from the employees there, and it's quite clear to see why. I mean, when you're producing and when you're developing at this level,
Yes.
there's always something to be proud about. Now, Kwesi, you would have mentioned during one of the earlier segments, and I just wanted to touch back on it a bit. In this last segment, you would have mentioned that quite a bit of the equipment and some of the services are usually outsourced, and this is as a way to provide the private sector
Yes.
with a predictable source of revenue, and of course to give back to the private sector.
Of course.
And you would have mentioned there's quite a bit of vendors engaged with the division. Now, Kwesi, of course we have to be candid, and there has been some measure of controversy surrounding the public procurement process, and most of it would be because the public doesn't necessarily know, unless you're within the sector and you're involved in the tendering process, you may not necessarily know how this works. So I don't know if you want to spend some time and just explain to the public, how does a vendor, contractor, service provider really kind of get involved, your trucks, your tractors, whatever it is, to undertake some of these works on behalf of the division?
All right, so even before I get into that, it would be remiss of me if I didn't pay tribute to the leadership at URP and some of the employees again
Of
who have
course.
led the way, some of the foundation members, as we call them, of URP,
Okay.
who have really led the way in this transformation of the program. But in terms of the procurement, very quickly, what the Tobago House of Assembly has done since 2016. Now, there has been talk about the Public Procurement Act.
Yes.
We know that there is now a procurement regulator, but we know that the procurement regulations have not been fully assented to as
Yes.
yet or proclaimed as yet. But what Tobago has done is we've looked at what is intended, and we have said, you know what, let's not wait. And we have already started a central procurement unit under the office of the Chief Secretary. So it means that all procurement goes through that channel. So people have to not only have registered businesses, but you have to be registered with the central procurement unit as well.
Right.
There's now not the three quote system that was of the past. That's a thing of the past. There are now tenders posted on the website and in the newspaper as well. So there's a very transparent tender process. As a matter of fact, when we were transitioning in early 2017, it moved from the secretary signing off and saying, yes, I give approval to engage this contractor, to now I have to write there, I have no objection with the process to
Right.
engage a contractor.
Wow.
So the secretary really doesn't have a say anymore,
Right.
It's now, we have in every division, we have procurement officers who work with the central procurement units. And they are the ones, of course, once you have given the parameters, listen, this is the policy, we would like to get X, Y, or Z done. We try to get procurement plans done as well. They now have the responsibility of going out. So sometimes when, people say, so you meet me on the road, Kwesi, why you can't buy some boots from me or some this? The reality is those things don't even come across the desk of the secretary.
Right.
They're dealt with the administrator and the procurement officers, the public officers. And we are using the procurement regulations even though they have not been assented to. So we've gone a step further
Right.
than Trinidad, because of course we're smaller in Tobago
Yeah.
than in Trinidad, so that it has been easier to implement. So as a matter of fact, there's a greater level of transparency
here on the
than
island.
ever before. So I was tickled when I saw someone say that they would introduce transparency. When we have actually been the example, the national example in the Tobago House of Assembly. And what it also gives way for is in the procurement regulations, we can say, you know what, indigenous companies. So if it is we want to repair the school in Delaford or in Mason Hall, we can give preference to the contractors from Mason Hall, from
Right.
Delaford. We now have the community-based infrastructure development program going on, again, through the central procurement units. And the idea is that we're going to use local asset, community-based assets to address some of the burning infrastructural needs in the community. So again, no secretary involvement.
Right.
All we have done is said that this is the program we want. Central procurement takes over with the technocrats, so that there is I won't say divorce, but there's almost a
Separation.
there's a separation now from the political and the technical to get things done. So it's very entertaining again to hear people talk about introducing. That's like me coming now and say, you know what, I want to introduce sliced bread to bakeries to see, because I think Tobagonians need sliced bread.
When it's already there.
It's already there, it's already been done, it's already in use, people are already complimenting it in the school repair program. Someone said to me, it's so much better for them because they are a smaller contractor, they've broken up the contract. As well, they're from the community, so they have greater opportunities than even before. They don't have to compete against the larger contractors anymore because they're now registered in different segments in terms of capacity, whether it's under 250, 500,000, a million and up. So that it's level the playing field, creating more opportunities, and that is a great thing. And I'm really proud about what we've been able to do as it regards procurement in Tobago.
Thank you, and I myself, I'm very proud. I had the opportunity to sit on a procurement committee once, and I was amazed at how rigorous the process actually is. A very, very technical and rigorous process to actually select a vendor. In some cases, and whole day process, you sit there and you review the tenders. Of course, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Mr. Quality Works, for joining us this morning, for sitting in the hot seat, and of course, addressing some of the burning issues, especially the pothole issues. I know I would have thrown you right into that one here on the island. Thank you, viewers, for staying with us. Join us tomorrow right here, the same time, same place, on the hot seat. Tomorrow we'll be talking about youth opportunities, youth development here on the island. I have a very young panel joining me tomorrow, so it promises to be an exciting conversation, a very energetic conversation tomorrow with some of our very, very young ones right here in Tobago. And of course, if you have a hot topic that you would like to hear us discuss on the hot seat, feel free to send us a message. Feel free to make a comment below. And if you have any hot questions that you would like asked to any of our guests in the future, feel free to also let us know. Again, thank you for joining the hot seat with Mel, where we seek to inform and educate. Please have a good day.